I see you're back to the political compass test. If you haven't watched the first 2 episodes, I'd highly suggest that you click the upper right hand corner and watch the first 2 episodes before coming back here. Because today we're on page 3, talking about personal social values, so let's get started. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. So, I think we can all agree that everybody has ownership of their own body, right? So that implies that ownership, property. And what do we know about property? We know that if anybody invades your property, you have the right to force them out. Same with your house, right? People can't just come in your house and stay there. No. Same thing with a baby, right? If it's a fetus, if you're not wanted in here, you have no right to intrude on a woman's property. And that implies that a woman has the right to remove a baby from her body, forcibly if need be. And so, if a fetus, I should say, is unviable outside of the womb, it's tough luck. Who is violating whose rights more directly? Is it the mother who forces the fetus out, who may or may not survive later on? Or is it the fetus who is a parasite to the mother, drains her of her energy, her resources, her nutrients? It's pretty easy to tell. A fetus that is unwanted is literally violating rights just by existing. So, I strongly disagree. All authority should be questioned. Hell yeah, everything should be questioned, not just authority, right? Name one thing where it was so reliable that we never should question it, right? The government, we should be questioning government all the time. And I think we're all together in this, right? Scientists, should we question them? Yeah, it's part of the scientific process, skeptical inquiry, right? The way you find truth is to prove things wrong, to prove yourself wrong. When your mission is to prove yourself wrong, that removes a lot of the cognitive biases you could be experiencing when trying to prove yourself right. So, we should all be aiming for that, to use negativity and pessimism for good. Religion, it should be questioned. There's some laws and particular pieces of religious texts that are simply unviable today, morally, right? So, question everything, not just authority, everything. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. So, the idea behind revenge is if someone messes with you and you rough them up real good, they'll know not to fuck with you later on. That's essentially what you're doing. You're looking at the past, you're deciding to take revenge, and so you're making the past reflect the future. By taking revenge, you are arguing for the congruence of the past and the future. Now, it doesn't take a genius to see that the past is full of mistakes. And taking away an eye or taking away a tooth is one of those mistakes. So why would you want to take the mistakes of the past and move them to the future? It makes absolutely no sense. If your goal is to, over time, improve the future, to get better, you can't do that by looking at the past. It'll keep things the same. It'll make things worse. You should always be looking to the future. What can we do to make this better in the future? We can't change the past anymore, right? So, someone commits a crime, you don't look at how will we punish this person? Get what they deserve. Get retribution. No. Someone commits a crime, how will we stop that from happening next time? Right? This criminal, how do we make sure they become better? How do they improve? And sometimes that will involve punishment, but sometimes it won't. And we need to know the flexibility. We need to have the responsibility and the willpower to resist the urge to take revenge, and to know when it's a good idea to apply discipline for the sake of the future, and when a simple education will do. Providing lessons, providing opportunity. That could help solve many crimes, prevent them from happening. So if you're singularly focused on the past, you're never going to improve the future. So I would strongly disagree with that. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. I'm going to add to this list libraries. Museums and libraries. What are they for? A library, obviously, they let you borrow books for free. There's not much money to be made running a library commercially. But why are they so important? It's not to make money, it's not to boost the economy, it's to educate people. Not everybody can afford the books, not everybody can afford the resources, but everybody has a right to the education, to the knowledge. And so your reasoning behind having a museum or a library, it's not to get money. It's not to make money at all. Your reasoning behind it is to educate the public. That's why. And so, since the government has a vested interest in investing in the public, in educating the public, I would agree that museums and theaters, they should be held up. I mean, are you going to judge the effectiveness of an institution which is built not to make money? Are you going to judge that institution based on their ability to make money? That's not the point. It misses the point completely. The institution's purpose is not to make money, so why would you judge them based on their ability to make money? It makes no goddamn sense. So, I need to change that. Strongly disagree. Taxpayers should prop up things because they're just that important. Not financially good, but they're important. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Again, it's education, right? We, as a people, have a vested interest in making sure everybody has a good knowledge base so they can speak English correctly, do math, right? Calculate math problems, have a sense of reasoning, right? So that they can be responsible voters, policymakers. And of course, critical thinking skills and ethical skills, right? Everybody needs to have a moral basis. We have a baseline education that we are obligated to provide all our citizens for their benefit so that they can be successful later on in life, and for our benefit so that they don't become friggin' criminals, because guess what? Uneducated people commit crimes. So schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Hell no. They should make classroom attendance compulsory. And honestly, we might not even be in school long enough. I'm gonna say it right here. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. No. So, what do you think will happen if you keep to your own kind? People who are like you. You're gonna hear opinions that are like yours. You're gonna hear statements that you already agree with. Are you ever gonna learn any new information from people who are exactly like you? Are you gonna get any new points of view from people who are brought up like you? No, you're not. You're not gonna get any new information, nothing you didn't already know, and you're not going to be challenged intellectually. So, the idea that everybody should keep to their own kind, to sequester yourself in an echo chamber, to hear back only what you already think is true, or what you already know, that is not good. Everybody should be exposed to as many different ideas as possible, and try and learn to pick out the good ideas from the bad. That's the only way we can, as individuals of a larger society, improve and push the future to new heights. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. No. Spanking, even if you're spanking a child and you're the parent, spanking anybody is assault. Any sort of violence is assault. Understand? It is never okay to spank anybody unless it's consensual. If you're spanking somebody because you're having sex or something, that's completely different. But parents, what are you gonna do when you spank your children? Are they gonna say, "Ow, that hurts. Oh, I think you're right now. Now I see why you're right. That makes no sense. You're never going to prove to anybody that you're right or you're wrong based on violence, based on discipline. The only way to prove you're right or wrong is to use evidence and to use reasoning. Using a fist, an iron fist, it will never accomplish that. Never in a million years. And studies basically support that. Spanking your children, it might give your children PTSD. It might make them think violence is okay. But in terms of what else it teaches, not much. Not much morally. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Yeah, I mean, this is just a true statement. I don't see what the controversy here is. I guess it might be that if you're a parent and you find out your child is keeping secrets from you, it may seem like they don't trust you or that they don't love you. But I think that's a very selfish way to think. To insist that you can monitor everybody else's thoughts. It's disrespectful to people's own thoughts, to them as people, to want to know everything about someone else. You gotta respect people's privacy. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Yeah. Marijuana is not dangerous. There's some things that can go on with your brain if it's still developing, but if you're an adult and you're taking marijuana, you will be just fine. Now, smoking it, there could be that's a bit sketchy. It's never good to really to smoke anything, but if you're chewing it or ingesting it in some other way, basically the marijuana isn't what's going to kill you, that's for sure. So I don't see any reason why it should be criminalized. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. No. All of us would agree that schooling, if it exists, is to form productive and well-rounded citizens, right? So if you're just a capitalist and you think, well, as a citizen, your main function is to find a job and be helpful to society, but in that way, I mean, you have a point. But it's not just that, right? Everybody has a duty, for example, to serve on the jury, right? That has nothing to do with your job. Everybody has a duty to keep track of political news, right? To know where this country is heading and to steer it toward the right direction. And so your job won't necessarily be able to provide you with those tools. You as a citizen have a responsibility not just of working your own job and getting rich yourself, but also you have a responsibility as a democracy. We have the responsibility, we have the burden of having to know what's right, having to know that our country depends on us to improve. And if we're just focused on our jobs, how are we going to get that? So while schooling, we need to provide everybody the skills required not only to find a job. That's just all you need to do is provide people instructions. Push that button. Move that from point A to point B. No. You give people critical thinking skills, reasoning skills. That comes first. Once you've got reasoning skills, they can say, well, why do I need to move things from point A to point B? Right? That creates logical pathways which help you learn. The important thing for schooling, the first most important thing is to learn how to learn. The second thing is learning. The third thing is applying what you learn. So if you skip right into the applying part, push that button, move that over there, you're not going to have a person who is well-rounded and capable of making policy decisions, not capable of voting. So if we polish our abilities to reason, that will help us perform our jobs better, help us innovate, help us become more efficient, but also help us to become morally more mature, and also to help steer America or wherever country you're in the right direction. So the prime function of schooling should be to learn how to learn. That is my answer.
I'm and I approve this message.